Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be going over the Luna rank, aka the top 50 players for Rivals of Aether 2. Like the last one that we did, this was made by the Thief of Light or WHIST on Twitter. His link will be down below. Absolutely go check that guy out. He does a ton of cool stuff, both in Rivals of Aether 2, but also in Smash Ultimate. And the way that we're going to be doing this video is, first things first, I want to take you through a little bit of a walkthrough for the TTS, just a very brief one, so we kind of have a frame of reference for which events actually matter. And then we're going to be looking at this character composition. This was made by Max or Toothbrush, the best Ranno player, at least according to this list, and low-key, I kind of agree with it. We're going to be looking at this character composition and then kind of just going through the top 50, talking about all the players. And there's going to be a couple players that I want to give you a little bit more attention to, and obviously you'll know which ones those are going to be. And then at the end of the video, I'll probably go through the top 10 in a little bit more depth because I can actually comment on like the specifics of those players a lot more. But yeah, with all that being said, use code ProofBlock and let's get right into it. Starting off with the TTS, and it should be noted that this is just a slapdash. I think it's a really good way to describe it. Actually, it's a slapdash ranking. It's not official by any means. This is not the end all be all. It is the only ranking that exists right now, so I'm going to treat it as the end all be all. But this isn't anything like super analytical, super official. It's just for fun, looking at the event and kind of eyeballing how actually stacked it is. And roughly for the TTS, we've only had 5 major events, or 6 major events, I should say, in Rivals of Aether 2. Majority of them happening right when the game came out. Of course, makes a lot of sense. You're going to have 3 majors. Then you're going to have Luminosity make its big moves in 2025, being your S tier. And of course, Genesis being your most important tournament of the year by far. This thing was absolutely massive. Since then, though, the only other major that you've had was Battle of BC. Now, you've had a couple events that were close. Hitfall 3.5 was pretty close. You had the Fusion major, which, and there was also another Fusion major. Yeah, also hit B plus there. You had Smash Camp as well. And then coming up, you're going to have Combo Breaker, which is just shy of a major event. But I think the fact that Combo Breaker, an official event on the Rivals of Aether 2 circuit, is at a B plus tier, I think it's pretty indicative of how strong these B plus tier tournaments are. So the way I'm going to be looking at this ranking, straight up D tier events, I can't pretend to care about them. Like, yes, they're absolutely important, especially right now. I'm not going to really be acknowledging them at all. But for the most part, C tier events matter, but B tier, B plus tiers, we're going to be treating those like the A tiers like the S tiers. We're going to kind of be scaling everything up just because the sample size is a little bit smaller. Really quickly, just in case you missed it, I wanted to show that they have the start of the Rivals 2 Championship Series actually cut off, just so there's a little bit of a distinction there. They've only really had D-tier events, and then you're going to have the Fusion Major as well. I guess the second Fusion Major coming in, and our only major since the circuit has started. The online event would definitely be considered a major, but also it was online, so that's why it wasn't. But just wanted to point that out as well. Moving on to character composition, starting off with characters that technically aren't in this top 50 at all, which is going to be Olympia and Etalus. Both of them are only making it because of secondaries. For Etalus, you're going to have LP, Pikmon, and then Nog. And I actually don't know if any of these players are getting real value. Other Etalus, I can't comment on it, but I want to make it very clear. The best Etalus player in the world is absolutely Fullstream. He's just not on this list because he really hasn't attended any. Oh no, he's in the attendance cup, but he would be in the top 30. He is the best Etalus player in the world. Fullstream is crazy good on this character. He also approaches the character completely different than I've seen anyone else do. And I think when other Etalus players maybe start catching up, you could see a bit of a, not resurgence because he was never good, but I guess a bit of a boom with Etalus, start seeing an uptick in his results. Nothing crazy. The character's not great, don't get it twisted, but he's definitely a lot better than he was before. And when in the hands of someone like Fullstream, you could do some serious damage. So shout out to Fullstream, definitely best Etalus in the world, but technically best Etalus in the world is going to be Nog, and then technically the best Olympia in the world is going to be Beasley. I think Switch should also be noted as an Olympia secondary. He's been playing that character a little bit more. So all 3 of these guys, I mean, technically they're the best Olympia in the world, but my shout for best Olympia would actually probably be going to Human Lime. I don't think he managed to get into this top 50, but I think Human Lime is really good. I've been super impressed by what I've seen from him recently. I think Coinbox, or the Coinbox Evo qualifier, he had a really nice run at that event, ended up getting 5th place. So for best Olympia, I would give a shout to Human Lime, even though maybe like the best player who plays Olympia might be like, I don't know, Beasley or Cakeassault if he ever plays the character. And then best Etalus, obviously, I would absolutely give that one to Full. Editing for ProofBlock really quickly, I wanted to show you all the character composition from the previous top 50. As you can see, you're going to have Forsburn go down and then Zetterburn go up as your most notable changes, but you're going to have Maypul shift with Ranno, you're going to have Kragg shift up by 1, you're going to have Lox shift down a little bit, same thing with wrastor, but then Fleet shifts up a little bit. Like, it's pretty much the same, but the biggest changes are going to be that Zetterburn goes up and Forsburn goes down. Next up, I want to talk about Orcane and Wrastor. Orcane with 2 reps, and then Wrastor with 3, only 2 without secondaries. You're going to have Marlon as our top rep for both characters. Actually, I think the Wrastor is counted as a secondary, because I would definitely say Orcane is his main. Then you're going to have BioBurb as the highest placing solo Wrastor. You're going to have Iota as the highest and only solo Orcane on this list. And then you're also going to have Applewiz getting in there at 45th. Shouts to him for that. Now, really important takeaway here. Just because these characters are not super represented within this top 50 does not mean that they are bad characters. This is actually like exactly what I kind of expect to see with Orcane and Wrastor, because these are 2 characters that are extremely weird. They're extremely niche. They have a lot of little intricacies about them that if you need to play them, or if you want to play them at a top level, you kind of need to know all of that stuff. It's not a character like a Kragg or a Ranno or a Clairen or a Zetterburn where you can kind of just pick them up, and if your fundamentals are good enough, you're just going to be able to figure things out. With Wrastor and Orcane, you need that specific character knowledge. You need to put in a ton of time, and there's a couple people who have done that, but just most people haven't done that. I think Wrastor and Orcane are characters that you should expect to see have a bit of an uptick just the longer that we go into this game. I think the average of the player base should get stronger and stronger. I will say I'm a little bit surprised to only see 2 mains for Wrastor. I do think that I would have expected like 1 or 2 more to kind of pop up at this point and start doing some crazy stuff, but I am still very confident that it is going to happen. I don't think that Wrastor is a bad character. I don't think Orcane a bad character. I do think Orcane's a little bit worse than Wrastor, just because of that explosive potential that Wrastor has, but he's also a little bit lighter, arguably. Now I'm just getting into debate about Orcane versus Wrastor. But the TLDR, the point that I'm trying to make here is these characters are not bad. They're just a little bit weird. They're a little bit different than the other top tiers. They take more time to pick up, and because of that, you're not seeing as many of them at the top level right. Next up is going to be Loxodont, and I'm just talking about him specifically because this is like exactly what I expect for Loxodont. Not many people trying to secondary the character, only 1 person having them as a secondary, and that person is going to be Juno, and I don't even know if they've ever gotten value out of the Loxodont. But for mains, you're going to have Evil Nardwar, you're going to have Omar, and then your highest ranking Loxodont is still going to be Nog, because again, that run at Let's Make Moves Miami or Luminosity Make Moves Miami, I do not think any other Loxodont player is going to beat it. It's just so unbelievable, and he gets some really solid wins along the way. But yeah, just the fact that people have gotten a lot better at playing against Loxodont. Now, obviously, the Loxodont players have gotten a lot better at using their character to exploit other people's disadvantages, yes, but when your disadvantages is as bad as it is, I do think the clock is just perpetually ticking against you, where the meta is evolving faster than the character is. So I think it's going to be difficult to continue constantly succeeding with Loxodont, especially considering they love to nerf him every single patch. But shouts to 3 Lox players, and technically 4 Lox players, they managed to get themselves into this top 50. The character is definitely not bad, but you're playing against characters that are all like cheating. Next character is going to be Forsburn, and you're going to have 5 of them in this top 50 here. Ignore what it says on the tier list there. You got Revelo at 35th, Pikmon at 34th. I know Revelo gets value out of his fleet secondary. I don't know if Pikmon gets it out of his etalus. I'm going to say no, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't play it, so we can't take that away from him. Yes, he is still going to get credit for the etalus, and regardless, the Forsburn is obviously what we care about. He's nasty on that character. 27th for Void as well, who has taken a pretty big step back from the game. Hopefully he returns, though. I know I love watching Void, but this may be the highest we see him ranked, at least for a little bit. You got Soul Rifle. I'm pretty sure took a permanent step away from the game, actually, which is definitely unfortunate. Really sick player to watch, but manages to get himself into that top 20 before he retires. I think he actually might be top 10 on that initial ranking. And then finally, you got Cakeassault as the number 1, of course, and he's going to be repping that Forsburn as well as Fleet and Zetterburn. So Forsburn, this is where I would expect this character to be. Like, it's probably exactly around where I would expect this character to be. A decent amount of representation, and a majority of that representation towards the higher part of the top 50 as well. All of them getting within this top 35 area. I think that's really indicative of the character's strengths. And I don't want to say that Forsburn has the potential to be the best character in the game, because he does, by the way, but because the top 3 are so strong right now, like those characters are so overpowered that in practice you just need to work way harder as the Forsburn player. But he has the tools at his disposal to get the job done in like pretty much every situation, at least in my opinion. His damage output is super solid. He's got amazing killing. His edge guarding is spectacular. Clone is a ridiculous move. You have so much control over the clone. Well, not over the clone, but no, yeah, actually over the clone, because when you're popping that side B initially, you can just like immediately pop the clone after. That's what Forsburn players tend to do, send that thing off stage and either spike them with the clone or just put them in a bad spot. Obviously, you got a ton of deception with smoke as well. I think Forsburn is a character who has potentially the highest ceiling in the game. I think Maypul's would maybe be a little bit higher, but he's definitely up there for how far you can take this character. His extremes are quite spectacular, and we're seeing a lot of people already pilot him at the top level, majority of them towards the higher end of the top level as well. I think it's pretty indicative of this character's strengths. Next character is going to be Fleet with 3 reps, technically 5 with secondaries. You got KYB or Kib, Revelo with the secondary. You're going to have B-Bats, you're going to have Mysterysol, and you're going to have Cakeassault. And this is exactly 2 more fleets than I expected to be in this top 50, because I expected Cakeassault, obviously, as the secondary. Absolutely expecting Mysterysol, even though he hasn't been attending as much events. This guy is nasty. And then, of course, I also expected B-Bats, especially after that stellar run that she ended up having at the Fusion Major, the most recent one. So I expected there to be exactly 3 fleet players, technically 2, in this top 50. The fact that anyone else got in, I think, is very impressive to me. Of course, Revelo does have it as his secondary. And then KYB or Kim actually just getting in, I think, probably off this run at Don't Pork on the Grass, which was super solid. And I don't think Fleet, well, I do think Fleet's a bad character, but she's not an unviable character. She is definitely towards the lower half of the cast, and by lower half, I mean, like, she's probably 11th, maybe 10th. But she has some of, if not the best edge guarding in the game, and her flow charting is unbelievable. I know I say this literally every single time I talk about Fleet, but it's like really important that people kind of get this in their head, that this is not a character that you should be expecting to kill people like off the top or even off the side. If you're complaining that your moves aren't killing his Fleet, it's because you're doing a bad job as the Fleet player from stopping your opponents from making it back to stage. Every single character in this game, Fleet is able to fairly consistently edge guard, except wrastor. I would argue, like everyone else, you should be able to get that on lock. She has there's so much mix up in how she wants to cover stuff, not only with lingering aerials like a forward air or something like a side B, which just covers space, but she also has float. Like, this character is ridiculous off stage. Now, on stage, I do think that she's definitely the weakest character in the game. She does get run over in the neutral. Yeah, she's got disjoints, but that doesn't mean she's going to be winning every single fight that she takes. People do know how to space in this game. So overall, yes, I do think Fleet is towards the weaker end of the cast, but that comes with one of the strongest strengths of like anyone in this game with her edge guarding. Next up is going to be Kragg. You're going to have 5 Kragg players, technically 6. You're going to have PK as our lowest one at 40th. He's going to be followed by 1 Outcast and then Cheesy Potato. And then we got to jump all the way to the top 10 where we've got 3 Kraggs. You're going to have Ion, you're going to have Zeebee, and you're going to have Stango. So technically, Stango is the best Kragg player in the world. Of course, that title is absolutely going to go to Zeebee. There's no question in my mind there. But technically, it is going to be Stango. And I think Kragg's one of the 2 characters in this game that is just objectively better in practice than he is in theory. The other one is a Zetterburn, of course. And the reason I say that is because, number 1, heavy character, so you're going to have a little bit more longevity. Number 2, his initial dash speed is insane. That's something that's good in theory as well, but that initial dash speed is really helpful in bracket. You can just catch people off guard super fast. And number 3 is going to be his damage output plus neutral special. Damage output for Kragg is already pretty insane. Damage output for most characters in the game is insane, yes, but the fact that he has that plus neutral special is something that he can choose to confirm into or go for raw. A command grab that either you get at 0%, and then you combo into up air. Mid percent, you combo into a tech chase or down B off stage. And high percent, you can just literally chuck people into the blast zone. Kragg neutral special just makes this character so much better in tournament than he maybe would be in theory. And in theory, the move is also insane. And because of that, I think that's why you have so many Kraggs that are towards the really, really high top. Because if you have a fast player like Zeebee, like Ion, they're able to abuse that initial dash speed of Kragg with the mix-up of having that neutral special threat. And it just makes for a monster at the top level. If you take the right ingredients and you put them on Kragg, you get someone like Ion, you get someone like Zeebee. And we've all seen what they can do with this character. So 5 Kraggs, technically 6 in this top 50. That's like exactly what I expect to see from him. Next up is going to be Ranno with 6 reps. And this is a round where I would expect Ranno to be maybe like 1, 2 more, but we're just kind of nitpicking at this point. You're going to have Lucius at 41. You're going to have Mars at 29, Luck at 23, Leffen at 18, Squanto at 16, Ant at 14, and Toothbrush at 13. So I've been seeing a lot of talk recently about how Ranno is not that good. Ranno doesn't need to be nerfed. He's not that good of a character because he doesn't have any results in tournament. Though. The top level, Ranno is not even doing that well. Well, first of all, there's 4 Rannos in the top 20. Even though there's none in the top 10, I think 4 Rannos in the top 20 is pretty indicative of the character at least being good, especially considering that Squanto hasn't really been to anything in 2025. Leffen hasn't really been to anything in 2025. These are some of your luck hasn't really been to anything. Mars only went to LMBM, I'm pretty sure. And even Ant, I don't think, has been to anything this year, at least major. The only like active Ranno player at this point is going to be Toothbrush. Of course, Lucius as well. He's been fairly consistently. But I would say that Toothbrush is definitely your best Ranno player, or Max. He's been going by, I think, Max more recently. Even though it's really close between him and Ant, that run at Hitfall was so impressive to me. He gets a win on Cakeassault there as well, one of the few people that ever beat Cakeassault offline as well. Most recently beat Spargo at the coin box, even though it doesn't count for this ranking. I still saw him beat Spargo. Like, that is very impressive to me. So you have 4 Rannos in the top 20. Maybe that's not enough for a nerf, but I think that the eye test kind of shows you why Ranno needs a nerf. And what I mean by that is, first of all, let's look at his neutral. He is the fastest character in the game. He's just really fast. And he has side B, plus B reverse, and he has ledge slipping with darts. How do you beat that character in neutral? The answer is you don't beat that character in neutral. He's just really strong. And then on hit, he's also incredibly strong. You have both up throw and down throw. Up throw, you can DI it really good, so he doesn't get a super great follow-up. But if you don't, you're absolutely screwed. Down throw, he's getting a tech chase into a strong attack. You're going to have all of his tilts being amazing combo tilts. Yeah, you can crouch cancel up tilt, but you can crouch cancel a lot of things in this game. That's kind of one of the main gimmicks. All of his aerials are amazing for combo. They did end up reverting that changed to up air. They got rid of the sour spot for up air, but they did end up putting that one back. So thank God, because him always getting up air too strong was really, really good for him. Just made him way, way too consistent. And I think that's kind of the big issue with Ranno is he's really hard to hit. And it's really consistent for him to steal your stocks. He's also amazing at edge guarding because he does have, as I mentioned, ledge slipping with the volley of darts or just like a lingering there. So yeah, I think Ranno's really strong. I absolutely think Ranno needs a nerf. Even if there's no Ranno players in this top 10, you got to remember the context of who is playing Ranno. Like, these are all amazing Ranno players, and all of them, aside from Toothbrush, have done pretty much nothing this year. The next character is going to be Clairen with 7 reps, which is maybe a little more than I would expect, but like only by 1 or 2. She should be around here. You're going to have Gengar at 39th, technically your lowest one, or Gengar, I should say. Nard at 36, Music at 33rd, Uda at 28th. You're going to have Asashi at 12, Rongunshu at 11th, and then your best Clairen is, of course, going to be Spargo all the way at 4th place. And I think Clairen's also a character that probably gets a little bit stronger in bracket just because the players that have really good spacing are going to be rewarded on this character more than they are on any other character. Clairen's tippers are ridiculous. Like, they're not as strong now that you're able to crouch cancel some of them at those earlier percents, but the mid percent, if you're in the air, you're going on an absolute ride if the Clairen player knows how to space. Just down air, up air are amazing moves. Up tilt is one of the best tools in this game, even though I don't think Clairen absolutely needs a nerf just because overall I think she's in a fine spot. They probably will have to touch that up tilt move. It is ridiculous. It just covers so much space for her. She gets value out of both the non-tipper and the tipper. It's going to be a little bit harder to get value out of the non-tipper, of course, but the tipper is absolutely crazy for her. And then for down air and up air, you don't even need to hit the tipper with those moves in order to get value from them, which is why they are so strong. So I think Clairen makes a lot of sense that she's doing extremely well in tournament. I think she's always going to be a character, unless she just gets like nerfed, obviously super hard, that's going to be prevalent at the top level. Just the idea of the guy that has the best spacing gets to stun you and then choose whatever combo route he wants is just always going to be successful. Next up is going to be Maypul with 7, technically 8, but also Marlon is the 8th one, and I've literally never seen him play the rat, so we're not going to be counting him. You're going to have Juno at 48, you're going to have Elpie at 42, you're going to have Sinbad at 26, Edbad at 25th, Elkies at 15th, and then you're going to have, of course, Plup all the way at number 2. You have Rysel at 20th as well. I don't know if I said that. I feel like I skipped over it, but Maypul is a character that is well represented in this top 50. That's exactly what I expect. And it also makes a lot of sense that Maypul is kind of everywhere in this top 50. Like, you got a couple in the 40s, you got some in the 20 area, you got one getting themselves, technically 2, getting themselves into the top 10. And I think that's because Maypul is a character that has a very wide range with their skill expression. The floor of Maypul, I think, isn't going to be maybe as strong as the floor of like Zetterburn or the floor of Ranno or the floor of Kragg. But the ceiling of Maypul, I think, is potentially the highest in the game. And you just have a lot of people throughout their Maypul journey, really, here on this ranking, just figuring that character out, slowly rising the rankings. And I think it's really indicative that Elkies is the second best Maypul, because if Plup didn't exist, I would say that she's clearly the best Maypul player. She is by far the best Maypul out of getting value with the wraps. Actually, I should say Enbad I've also been very impressed by recently. He did pretty good at the coin box qualifier, I believe. Maybe it was Sinbad that did good at the coin box thing. But I'm going to say it was Enbad who did good at it. But regardless, the point I'm trying to make here is you can play Maypul in a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of stuff to figure out with this character. Specifically, the wrap stuff. When you figure that out, you're going to be taking your Maypul to the next level, and I think that's why Elkie is the head of all of the Maypul players right now, because her wrap stuff is just so incredibly strong. But you'll notice that Elkies is only the second best Maypul, because Plup is actually the best Maypul, and that's because at Genesis, he was just an F-tilt machine. And obviously, all the credit here goes towards Plup. He was playing insane at that event, had to outmaneuver his opponents in the neutral, but he just really used that really solid tool of F-tilt in the neutral. He would weave in and out of combat expertly, and that was a tool prior to that event that I wouldn't have even had on the list for Maypul's best videos. Obviously, it's on there now, but what I'm trying to say here is just with one resource, thinking outside the box, Plup was able to win the biggest Rivals of Aether 2 event. Not even close to the a number 2 event. You can't even compare Genesis to anything else. And he beat Cakeassault, he beat Marlon, he beat the big boys at that event because his character was just so solid, and he just used that really solid tool of his character better than anyone else had ever done before. Didn't even need any of that theory stuff. So that is what tells me, that's what shows me Maypul is one of the best, if not the best character in the game. It's, for me, pretty difficult to tell right now. I think it's kind of up in the air with Ranno, Zetterburn, and Maypul. I think it's clearly between one of those three characters, but I also think that Maypul has the strongest theory aspect of anyone in the game. So if you want to put her as the best character in the game because of that, I think that's absolutely fine. But if you want to do it because of Zetter, because, his result, also fine. And our most popular character is going to be Zetterburn with technically 9 reps in the top 50. So almost a fifth of the top 50 players in the world are going to be on Zetter. You got Lucio at 50, Hyperflame at 49th, Acorn at 46, HKP at 43rd. Then you're going to have to go to Sofilo at 24th, Cody Schwab at 22nd, Ion, or Switch, I should say, at 8th, Beastly at 7th, Stango at 5th, and then Cakeassault technically at 1. Now, even though you have Stango as the highest ranked, I do think that Beastly is the best Zetterburn right now. Yeah, Stango had that amazing run at Genesis, and honestly, we haven't really seen Stango since Genesis, so he might actually still have all that aura with him, and I just kind of forgot, but I've seen Beastly recently, and he has looked incredible. I've been so happy with what I've seen from that guy. 65th at the online qualifier, but it is an online event, so we can take that with a little bit of salt, just a little bit of salt. But Beastly's run at Battle of BC, he just looked like the best Zetterburn player in the world, and he absolutely has the best shines out of any Zetterburn player. It is not even close. And honestly, with Stango not competing as much in 2025, I think that there's a couple people that have a chance to pass him. Obviously, I think Beastly is going to pass him. There is the possibility of Switch passing him as well, but I think he's putting a little bit more focus into Olympia, as I kind of alluded to earlier. But I actually think the next person that is most likely to pass Stango is going to be Sofilo. And this is going to be kind of like the player I want to highlight in this top 50. Keep your eye out on Sofilo. They are going to be a top 10 player. It's only a matter of time. She is nasty at this game. Just a really fast player that I feel like makes the correct decision pretty much every single time on the Zetterburn. They have some of the best execution, if not like the best execution, aside from Beastly with Shine combos, that I've seen from AZ, are just super consistently solid. So I absolutely think that Sofilo is going to be a player that you need to watch out for. She is going to break into that top 10, and she might even get herself a major win this year. It's possible. Now, we've now mentioned every single player within this top 50. At least I hope I did. If I skipped you in the top 50, it's probably because I have a personal grudge against you, but I don't think I missed anyone, so nothing to worry about there. But I do want to mention the Area 51 and the Attendance Cup players before we do get into that top 10 with a little bit more detail. You're going to have Raimo, Hunter, Average Alex, Mata, and Guard. And I would say Mata is probably the one that I personally have my eye out on the most. I was really impressed by their play at that run at Don't Park, and also just a Maypul player. That's someone that I'm always going to have on my radar. And then for the attendance cut players, you got Sego on that, which is also a good player for shouting out Best Olympia earlier when I was talking about it. I said Human Line, still stick by that, but I think Sego is definitely a decent shout. That guy is very, very good as well. You're going to have Nalax, who also plays Olympia. I've never personally seen them play, so I can't comment on it. You got Spider, and you got Dia, and these are going to be your front runners for the European Rivals scene right now. And I assume these are just like your top 3 dogs in Rivals 2 right now for Europe. I don't know if Mr. R is still actively competing in this game. I assume he's taken a bit of a step back. But if there's any European Rivals 2 players that have a lot of knowledge on Dia, HTP Spider, and Nalax, which one is just like the best between them, I would really like to know that because it's very interesting to me. In my opinion, I've always just regarded Spider as the best. Just in my head, that's what I had. But I want to know if that's like the general consensus among the community. Zeus as well. Zeus is a top 10 player. Absolutely. Probably a top 5 player, actually. He just literally does not go to anything. Full stream as well. The best etalus player in the world. He plays etalus just in a different way. He's figured something out that the other etalus players literally just have not yet. And then, of course, he's also nasty on the Zetter and the Forest. He could probably be top 30 with all 3 of those characters. Really, for Forsburn, or not for Forsburn, for Full Stream, it's just like, if he wants to be a top competitor in Rivals 2, he will. He just has to consistently show up to events. It's just a commitment thing for him. And then you got Archangel and Boyko. You're going to have 2 solid events here from Archangel, and then that crazy run from Boyko at LMBM, getting all the way to 3rd place there. It's actually kind of surprising me that we haven't seen him since, but I kind of am anticipating him now because that run was ridiculous, and I want to see if he'll one-up it. And now that we've gotten everything out of the way, we can finally get into this top 10. And even though this is over a pretty long period of time with a relatively small sample size, I do think that this top 10 is pretty indicative of the current best players in Rivals of Aether 2, starting off with Mysterysol, who is going to be your best fleet player in the world. Yeah, Cakeassault may be the best player who plays fleet, but he gave up on fleet. Mysterysol has stuck with this character, and you can tell when you watch him play because he is just like unbelievable. First off, his flow charting, some of the best. Maybe actually probably the best out of any of the fleet players. B-Bats is also really good in that aspect. Definitely got to give them credit there. But I think Mysterysol is incredible off stage, and most importantly, on stage, his neutral is the best of any of the fleets. He just schmooves around this character way better than anyone else does. His movement with Uppy is incredible off the platforms. His value out of float, his microspacing. Like, this guy is just unbelievable for results. He's got wins on Leffen, B-Bats, Cheesy Potato, Zeebee, Cody Schwab, Mango, Luck, Acorn at Battle of BC's most recent big event. He's going to end up getting 5th place, only losing to Marlon and Beastly, taking out one Outcast and getting your Mysterysol is the best fleet player in the world, and honestly, it could get surpassed. Like, B-Bats is definitely within punching distance. Maybe Cakeassault goes back to primarily fleet. I doubt that ever happens, but it could. But it's really hard for me to just envision Mysterysol as not the best fleet because he is just so legit on this character. She may not be the most fun one to watch, but if you are watching Mysterysol, it is impossible to take your eyes off the screen. He is just such a spectacle when he plays. And yeah, just really, really good player. Big shouts to him for sticking with fleet and continuing to find success. In 9th place, you're going to have Ion, who's been one of the best since this game came out. Even before the game came out, he was one of the best. At the first Genesis, he's going to beat Leffen and Lucius, but that's a while ago at this point. Let's go to some more recent times. LACS Rivals, he's going to end up getting another win on Leffen, as well as beating both Plup and Omsa in a pretty difficult matchup, at least in my opinion. I don't think Kragg does super well there as well. Then he's going to go on to get 9th place at Genesis, gets a Lucio win and a Sealder win, as well as a 2nd place at Smash Camp, where he double eliminates Zeebee from the bracket, as well as getting a win on Forest, only losing to Cakeassault. Ion is, if I was a top player, I think I'd be like Ion. He is an inspiration. This guy is just so raw. He does not care. He thinks he's right every single time he presses a button. And honestly, a lot of the time, he is right. Ion goes for callouts like a crazy level that I've never seen out of any other player. And as I said recently, he has been picking up Olympia. And I think that's something that is really dangerous in this guy's hands, because we've already seen how explosive he can be on a character like Kragg. And Kragg's initial dash speed is very good, yes, but outside of that, he is a bit of a slow character. He can get caught up in the neutral, maybe a little bit muddled compared to someone like Olympia, who is an absolute race car. Like, I am scared to see what Ion looks like in the neutral, and especially in the advantage state when he's playing that rap, because I've seen what it looks like when he's on the bug, and it's like an Eldritch Horror. I should also add for Ion that he's absolutely in that conversation for best Olympia in the world. I don't think I mentioned him earlier, but I definitely should have because he's nasty on that character. You're going to have Switch also in that conversation as our 8th best player in the world. He's got a 4th place at Luminosity, makes big moves, wins on Mars, Void, and Zeebee. 5th place at Wrath, 5th place at Hitball 3.5, beating Cheesy Potato, Lucius, and Nard, and a 3rd place at Fusion 251, beating Solar Beam and Cheesy Potato with the Olympia, and that's just his good 2025 results. He's also got a bunch of really solid results outside of that. Switch has yet to miss top 8 at a major event in this game, which I think is really indicative of this guy's consistency. And that's kind of the thing I want to praise him for. Like, maybe Sofilo is like the most precise Zetterburn when it comes to getting those crazy kill confirms, or Beastly has the best shine control, but Switch is just consistently good in every single aspect of the character. Like 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 with basically everything that has to do with Zetterburn. All around, this guy is just amazing. He feels like I'm watching an experienced player. When I watch Switch play, it just looks like I'm watching a guy who's done this 100 times before and is going to do it 100 times again. He's just so calm, so collected, so much confidence in himself, and because of that, he is also so incredibly consistent. Next up is going to be Beastly, and I just want to look at his 2025 results because they were good in 2024. He's got a 17th at LMBM, but the 7th at Luminosity makes big moves is, at least for me, when things started. That was the catalyst event because Beastly since then has been a top 10 player, at least in my opinion. He has been. He's got a win on Solar Beam, beats Alone, beats MSB, and beats BioBurp, only loses to Zeebee and Spargo. Then at Genesis, he is going to lose to Fullstream, but beat Gengar, B-Bats, and BioBurp to get himself into top 8. Loses to Asashi. Then you're going to have his crazy run at Battle of BC. And this run is ridiculous. This is the run that is getting him into that top 10. He's got a 3-2 win against Spargo, ends up losing to Cakeassault, but then beats Mysterysol, Spargo again, and gets a Game 5 win over Cakeassault. One of the handful of people that managed to have a win on Cakeassault in this game. Takes Marlon to Game 5 as well before falling out there. And then he's got a 2nd at Best of the West. Spargo figures him out at this event, but overall they are 2-2 in Rivals 2. And Beasley was always one of those players in Smash Ultimate where he was just like 1 or 2 things away from being like a top 30, top 50 player. He was so close to upsetting so many different people in that game, just 1 or 2 moves going into his favor. He actually beats like a handful of top 10, top 20 players. And Rivals 2, I think, is just the game. It just had that one small difference that he needed, that one little, whether it's like an input difference or like a confidence thing, whether he moves better in this game, just that small change from Ultra Rivals 2. Obviously, there's a big change, but you get the point I'm trying to get across here. It just unlocked something for Beastly, and now he is able to play at that high level that he was always kind of destined to play at in all, but he just never quite got there. I'm really, really excited to see what Beastly does in this game. He's easily my favorite player right now. He's definitely the guy that I got my #1, like, I guess just kind of seeking eye on to see how he evolves as a player. And yeah, I think the future for him is just really, really bright. His shine usage is crazy. At number 6, you're going to have Zeebee, and he is going to be your best Kragg player of Rivals of Aether 2. Yes, technically Stango is ranked higher, but he's predominantly a Zetterburn player. Yeah, his Kragg is good, but it's not as good as Zeebee's. It's not as good as Ion's. And the reason that Zeebee and Ion are the best Kragg players in the world is because they are so fast, and they're so explosive, and they're so confident. They check those big 3. They're able to abuse the initial dash of Kragg perfectly because their wave landing is like actually on point. They're going to be able to get that crazy damage output because, of course, mechanically they are good enough. But then neutral special, they go for neutral special whenever they can. They know how valuable that move is, and they use it as a call out constantly. So they're just so explosive. They're going for the double dunks with downer. They're going for a down B into a downer. Like Zeebee and Ion, I don't know why I'm still talking about Ions because I'm a fan. They just always are trying to kill you with Kragg, and they are typically very successful, and they're way harder to catch in the neutral than they should be as this big body character that's hitting you as hard as they are. For Zeebee, he's going to get a 3-2 win over Beastly, 3 over Ravello and Mars, only losing to Stango and Switch at LMVM. At Genesis, he's got a win on Lucius, Daria, Evil Nardwar, Ion, and Elkies, only losing to Stango and Rizul. He's going to get a 5th place at Battle of BC with a win on Hyperflame and Gengar, only losing to Marlon, Spargo. And then at Smash Camp, he is going to get wins on Dakpo and Hyperflame, as well as CPU Zero, only losing to the Ion Olympia. So Zeebee, best Kragg in the world. Like, obviously, he could get that title taken away from him. Like, I just think it would be really hard for me to see who it is as it stands right now. Like, a new Kragg player would have to emerge, or Ion, I guess, could just have a little bit of a resurgence, but I feel like he's going to be putting more of his time into Olympia now. And it just feels like Zeebee was meant for Kragg, and Kragg was meant for Zeebee. In 5th place, you're going to have Stango, and it's been a little bit since I've seen Stango play. I can't lie, I'm a little bit rusty on, like, specifically what he's amazing at, so I just want to look at his results, because they're insane. Looking at his last 3 major events, he's going to get a 2nd place at Plat Fight, beating Guard, Switch, and Mr. Nice Guy twice, only losing to Cakeassault twice. He's got a 5th place at Luminosity Makes Big Moves, where he gets wins on MSB and Zeebee, only loses to Boyko and Spargo, and he's got a 3rd place at Genesis, beating Glom, Evil Nardwar, Rizul, Zeebee, and Marlon, once again being double eliminated by Cakeassault. So he's got 3rd, 5th, and 2nd at his last 3 major events, and he loses to Cakeassault 4 times, the best player in the world at them. Like, you cannot feel too bad about that if you are this guy. I mean, maybe he feels a little bad because he wants to beat Cake, but aside from that, you got to be feeling pretty good here if you are Stango. And yeah, I really, really wish I had more to say in this specific segment, but it's just been a while since I've seen Stango play at a really high-level tournament offline. Like, he did participate in the Hungry Box qualifier, but he didn't do very well in that anyways, and I didn't get to see him play. So yeah, Stango, he's amazing. He is just amazing. Please take my word for it. I don't know why I'm at such a lack of words to describe it. He's the GOAT. In 4th place, you're going to have Spargo, and I think his event, I guess you would call it, I don't know, but his events entered shows how cracked this guy is. He has 6 events since the game has come out. 3 of them are online, so they don't count. And he's a top 4 player in the world. I mean, that is ridiculous. He's got this amazing run at the Luminosity Makes Big Moves, which is probably the best run that we have of a player in Rivals of Aether 2, just in terms of like how valuable it was in terms of adding to the ranking, because he got so many amazing wins. He loses to Lucius, but then beats Korra, beats Max, who's top 15, beats Void, who is top 25, I believe, or top 30, beats Beastly, who's top 10, beats Stango, who's top 10, beats Switch, who's top 10, and then beat Boyko, who's top 20 honorable mention, or didn't have enough attendance before losing to Cakeassault. So that run, amazing. And then he also does really good at Battle of BC, only losing to Beastly, who's a top 10 player, beating Cheesy Potato, Ron Gunshu, and Zeebee, as well as Pikmon. And he did go Etalus there, so he does get value out of the Etalus. We figured it out for Pikmon. And then finally, best of the West Climb Hazard, he's going to go there and win it, beating Jet the Jenga God, Whiskey, and Beastly twice, as well as Counter. But for Spargo to have 3 events entered and for him to be the 4th best player in the world just shows how amazing this guy is at the game. And if he fully invested his time into Rivals of Aether 2, he absolutely could become the best player in the world. He's just like, you take the Space and God and you give him the character that stuns people with the tipper, he's going to be pretty good. Our 3rd highest ranked player is going to be Marlon, with his worst ever event being this 4th place at Genesis. I know he's got a 9th at Miami, but he had to DQ out of that event from the winner's side. But starting off with his worst ever run at Genesis, he is going to get wins on Buck, Ivane, B-Bats, and Fullstream before losing to Plup. Gets a win on Asashi and then ends up losing to Stango. Then he's going to get his massive win at Battle of BC7, beating Beastly, Cakeassault, Zeebee, Mysterysol, Bullets, and Lord Bagel. Before that, he's got that 1st place at Frosty Fausting, most notably double eliminates Bioverb, as well as beating Rimo. And then I think this is before the game came out, so these events, they don't count for the ranking. But Marlon, amazing player. I do think that Marlon is going to be the best player in the world by the end of 2025. Yeah, Cakeassault's been doing really good, but he has definitely been slowing down, and I think Marlon's only been speeding up. Like, you've seen a couple people catch up to Cakeassault. I think Marlon's just still trying to figure out who he wants to play. He doesn't know if he's a wrastor main, an orcane main. He might even be playing the Maypul a little bit. Like, Marlon, I'm very, very confident is going to be the best player in the world by the end of 2025. He just moves better than anyone else in this game. And that's a really important win condition. I don't know if you've noticed that, especially when you're moving as fast as Marlon does. This is another time, kind of like with Stango, where I feel like I have a lack of words. I don't know how to properly describe this, but if you go watch a Marlon VOD, you'll understand what I'm saying. He just looks better than his opponents, and he's playing against Zeebee or Cakeassault or Spargo. Like, this guy just moves around the stage and controls so much, and his advantage is so oppressive that he looks like he's playing against idiots, but he's playing against the best players in the world. He's just absolutely smothering them. So if you don't believe me that Marlon is going to be the best player in the world by the end of the year, just go watch a couple of those sets, and it's going to be really easy to convince yourself. In 2nd place, you're going to have Plup. I don't have a lot to say about Plup, except that this guy is really good. He's got a 2-1 on Luck and a 2-0 on Mars. Loses 2-1 to Ion and 3-0 to Run Gunshoe at LCS Rivals. Then he wins Genesis. Just wins it out of nowhere. Actually out of nowhere. He 3-0 CPU 0, 3-0 Zelkis, 3-2s Mr. Nice Guy, 3-0s Ion, 3-0s Marlon, and goes Game 5 with Cakeassault, beats him, then 3-0s him in the grand finals. I mean, What an absolute run from Plup. I know I said earlier that technically Spargo's run in LMBM is the best run, but obviously this Genesis run from Plup is the best run that we've had in Rivals of Aether 2 because it came with winning the biggest event that this game has yet to see. And not will ever see. Obviously, he's going to be top, but I don't know if it will be for 2025. That event was absolutely stacked. We have a lot of really good Smash talent, most notably entering as well, which I definitely think helped, plus all of the Rivals 2 community showing up. So for the rest of the year, Plup might have the biggest win under his belt, and he might only have one major entered for this entire year. Like, I don't know if Plup actually wants to actively compete in Rivals of Aether 2. He might have just been grinding really hard for that one event. But regardless of what Plup wants, I know what I want, and it's just see more of this guy. I just want more Plup at every single event. He's such a sick player to watch. Fundamentally in the neutral, he is just unbelievable. And it's not for the same reason that Marlon's really good. Marlon's really good in the neutral because he just overwhelms you. He's just moving way too fast. Plup, it feels a lot more calculated, a lot more precise. He's very, very delicate with his movements. And of course, Marlon is too. It's just a different way of doing it. But watching Plup play is so serene, just gliding in and out of combat expertly, using that F tilt like no one has before and no one will again. This run of Genesis, absolutely incredible. The best run that we have in Rivals of Aether 2. Absolutely. I take back what I said earlier, even though the Spargo one was crazy. And I hope that we get to see more of Plup. That's all I can really say about him. And our best player for Rivals of Aether 2 is, of course, going to be Cakeassault. Nobody here is surprised. This guy has not missed... Okay, he missed a 17th at Genesis. That's actually crazy. How did that even happen? But anyway, he has not missed a top 3 since this game has came out. Every single event that he has entered, he's at least finished within the top 3. I mean, I guess for online events as well. He did get 4th place and 5th place, whatever. But for offline events, for when it really matters, only podium finishes for this guy, and most of them are without dropping sets in first place. He's got a win over Revillo, BioBird, Switch, Boyko, and Spargo at LMBM. No sets dropped. He wins Rat 2025 over Luck, Zeebee, and C Falcon. He gets a second at Genesis, beating Stango twice, BioBurb, and HKP. He's got a first place at the first Fusion Major, beating Max, B-Bats, Nard, and Jorg. He's got a first place at Hitfall 3.5, beating Max again, though he does drop one set, also beating Iota, Barking Frog, Lucius, and Uda. And then finally, not finally, he's actually got a third place at Battle of BC, beating Beastly, Rungunju, one Outcast, and then actually finally, he wins Smash Camp, double eliminating Ion, as well as beating Dakpo and Hyperflame. So Cakeassault, clearly the best player in the world off results. I know I said earlier that I think Marlon's going to be the best by the end of 2025. I absolutely think that. But off the results, it is like clearly Cakeassault. It's not even a conversation. Not only does he just have more events entered than pretty much anyone else, but he also just wins pretty much every single event that he happens to enter. But people have absolutely been catching up. You know, third place at Battle of BC. Beastly gets a win on him. Again, it is online. Yes, I am aware of that. But Fullstream gets a win on him. Sofilo gets a win on him, though he has got Sofilo's number pretty good when they played offline, I should say. And at Genesis, you're going to have Plup getting a win on him. You're going to have Spargo getting really close. Like, the armor hasn't broken yet. Let's not get it twisted. He's still the best player in the world, but we're starting to see the possibility. He went from looking like an untouchable player that was just guaranteed to win the bracket to actually having a conversation. Like, Marlon might even be favored over him. There's a couple people that could absolutely upset him. It's definitely interesting to watch Cakeassault evolve as a player. And everyone is catching up to him, but he's not slowing down by any means. Just because people are getting way better at Rivals of Aether 2 doesn't mean that Cakeassault is done. He is still improving. He's still learning new stuff. Every tournament that he comes to, he's got a new adaptation. He's got a new thing that he's wanting to try out. And even though Marlon wants that number 1 spot, Cakeassault's not going to give it to him easy. He's absolutely going to have to work for it. And with that, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the sport. It's been absolutely unreal. If there's anything I left out, got wrong, or if you want to say hi, leave a comment down below. Be sure to sub while you're down there. Use code ProofBlock if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.